Good afternoon and welcome to session 4. Yes, I think it's our 4th panel today, our 4th session of day 2 of our 6th Streaming Media Connect virtual event. I'm Eric Schumacher Rasmussen, the editor and VP of Streaming Media and the conference chair. Thanks so much for joining us. We had hoped to be in Huntington Beach this week, but here we are where we've been for a long time. But we are making plans for Streaming Media East in person in Boston in May of 2022, May 24th and 25th to be exact. We'll have another Streaming Media Connect virtual event in February, so keep your eyes open for more information about both of those events. If you're interested in speaking, we will be putting out a call for speakers for both of those events very soon. Before we jump into our discussion about streaming in the post-pandemic workplace, though, a few housekeeping notes. If you do have questions for our panel, please put them in the Q&A. That's at the bottom of your Zoom window. That just makes it easier for our moderator to keep track of the questions coming in. The chat will be open, but again, if you put the questions in the Q&A, we can keep them separate from the discussions that might be going on in chat. Also, we do have live transcripts turned on. If you want to turn them off, you can go to the live transcript button at the bottom of the Zoom window. Click on that and then click on disable transcripts and that will shut them off. Finally, if you are here, and of course the only way you're hearing this is if you are here, but for all of you here, you're entered in a drawing for a $50 Amazon gift card. But you got to stick around to the end. We'll announce the winner before we close the session. I'd like to thank the diamond sponsors of Streaming Media West Connect. That's Signient, VideoGuys, Limelight Network, and Conviva. And we have a video message from all 4 of them right now.
NDI November, NDI products and NDI guests, including Dr. Cross to kick everything off November 2nd. Start watching Tuesdays at 3 p.m.
Register now at VideoGuys.com to make sure you don't miss any of our NDI November webinars. Registering will give you a chance to win one of our giveaways, including a HuddleCam HD Pro EPTZ webcam with NDI, a Telestream Wirecast Pro license for Windows or Mac, a BirdDog Flex of your choice, the NewTek University NDI class and exam, or a copy of the Unofficial Guide to NDI.
In this era of streaming video, we are pioneers, helping make your stories more vibrant. Conviva lives in billions of apps on devices all over the world, measuring trillions of data points each day to provide real-time insights for your content, ads, and social. Conviva. Every stream, every screen, every second.
And I'd like to thank the sponsor of this panel, Qumu. Qumu's Andi Mann will be one of the panelists. And now I'd like to pass things over to our moderator, Steve Vonder. And I can't think of someone better equipped to talk about streaming in the workplace, pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, anytime than Steve. Steve, I don't think I've seen you since our last in-person event in New York.
It's been far too long, Eric, but we appreciate the attention that you folks at Stream Media with the West Connect show are paying to the enterprise space. So we have a deep abiding belief here at Wainhouse about the power of video, particularly one-to-many video, and how it impacts business operations. And really, when we had a chance to pull together this panel, my hat's off to you for bringing together a super set of video experts that can tell us a little bit about what they're seeing with video in the enterprise, both during the pandemic and as we look forward to, cross the fingers, a post-pandemic streaming world. We'll be hearing and discussing things with leaders from EY, Airbnb, Qumu, as Eric mentioned, and also from LinkedIn. And we'll be hearing from each of these panelists in short order. But first one I want to bring in is Chris Packard, who's manager of live programming and streaming from LinkedIn. Welcome, Chris. And if Chris is unable to unmute himself and come on board, we'll be able to chat a little bit and talk a little online video and what we see happening. And there's the man. How you doing, Chris? Where are you joining
Pretty
us
good.
from today?
I think I missed that whole thing in rehearsal that I was supposed to unmute myself. So sorry about that, Eric.
You're good, Chris.
Yeah, cool.
You're good. So tell us a little bit about your I'm going to put this question to each one of our panelists, kind of kicking off. But first, tell us a little bit about your role at LinkedIn. And also maybe a war story about your streaming experience during the pandemic, maybe the biggest challenge you faced as we've gone through these crazy past 18 months.
Yeah, sounds good. And again, thanks for having me, guys. I know Eric Schumacher, Rasmussen, we go back like 10 years. I actually helped stream VIDEOGUYS back in 2011, so 10 years ago today, when we were at in Century City, right? And streaming the live stream back in my live stream days. So really happy to be here on this panel. Yeah, just wanted to put that out there. So yeah, I've been at LinkedIn. It'll be actually 5 years in January. I'm with LinkedIn Media Productions / Content Technology Engineering. It's the internal group that handles all the live streaming for LinkedIn. So that's both our big events, like globally, like Talent Connect and a couple others, LTS Forward, and like Partner Connect, like big streams.
So how many events do you handle in a given month?
That's a good question. Yeah, so it's close to 200 or so a year. That's just LinkedIn produced streams, and then that's inclusive of all the big internal streams we have as well. So we handle our internal company Connect. We call it Company Connect, or Company All Hands, every 2 weeks. And that's globally to 18,000 employees. So that's part of the job. And then once LinkedIn Live was launched, I was serving as subject matter expert on that product. And now we just launched a couple months ago a team called Streamforce, which enables our top enterprise customers, publishers, and creators on LinkedIn Live. So it's a lot of different things, kind of growing pains right now, but it's a pretty exciting time to be in streaming. So I hope that it gives you a little bit of overview of the madness over here. But yeah,
did the pandemic shine a greater light on some of your activities during the past 18 months or so? Or people within LinkedIn knocking on your door a bit more often?
Oh, absolutely. The shift to virtual was pretty immediate. I think there's probably about a week or two where things are people trying to figure stuff out, but then it was kind of like the realization that in order for the company to keep going, like the most, that we were that team that was going to help keep the company together, right? So we went through some you mentioned like horror stories. We went through like an existing platform that we had, and it just couldn't keep up with the threshold that we were seeing with our own company All Hands, and had to pivot, and we shifted over to Microsoft Yammer, which is a stream kind of embed in Microsoft Stream, and we've also worked with Teams Broadcast. So everything is kind of going that direction right now. But yeah, there was quite a few horror stories in the early days, as we're pretty well documented in the news. But it's a really exciting time to be in the space, and it's just great to see the impact that we're making across the company, and hopefully to the world with our streams on LinkedIn Live.
Yeah, it's great to see video being used more proactively within a lot of organizations. Let's go ahead and bring in Stephen McNellie from Airbnb. He's highly involved in the efforts there at Airbnb, again, for using video for employee-to-employee communications. Stephen, tell us a little bit about your role at Airbnb, maybe a little bit about how you folks use one-to-many video, and,
Sure.
and maybe your own little story to share from the COVID period.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been at Airbnb coming up on 7 years, all the way from bringing their live production in-house with their all hands, helping to build out their control room and studio, to focusing more on like the platform side of things. And around March, we were migrating from another platform to a new platform so we could have more user-generated content, so we could start building out a more vibrant, rich video community where we could all share, communicate, and collaborate.
Now, this was March of 2020, right? So
this was March of 2020.
Great timing. Great timing.
And we were just about to launch it, and all this thing was happening. We were the last people in the office, myself, my boss, and the CEO, delivering a CEO Q&A all hands. And I'm like, and I said to my boss, hey, you know what? Should I hold off until launching this platform until all this stuff kind of blows over? We don't want to have too much confusion. He said, no, go ahead and do it. And we would have been waiting.
What's the worst that could happen, right?
We would have been waiting quite a while. And fortunately, the cutover happened really well. But I'm so glad that we did, because I've always thought about live streaming is bringing people closer to the experience of being, at a certain place at a certain time. And now here we have live streaming is the experience, right. And now the platform is the community. So that's really what's really exciting is like, what experiences are we enabling now with live streaming?
And just as a kind of a volume check in terms of how many webcasts and employee-to-employee sessions you use this for, how active are you folks in producing these types of events for employee-to-employee communications?
Oh man, I think it's hard to say. I think we do at least 6 to 10 company-wide, and then there's numerous ones where we do this like kind of white glove support, taking a Zoom call, breaking it down, and developing a model where we just have a producer that's assisting with a Zoom call, pushing it out to a one-to-many experience. And those are, I don't know how many, tons of those.
Yeah. Another big user of these video technologies is EY, and let's bring in Waseem Ahmad from EY. The title, Waseem says, Associate Director, Global Lead Streaming Media Services, but we've talked before, and I know you do a heck of a lot more than that title reflects. You guys are very active. Tell us a little bit about your role there at EY, and some of the ways that you folks have been using one-to-many video, particularly during the past 18 months during the pandemic.
It's great to be here, Steve. Nice to talk with you again, and everybody else on the panel. So I've been with EY for 15 years now, mostly focused in the video live streaming space. For the last 7 years, I've inherited the service. So myself and my team will do everything from platform, subject matter expertise, all the way down to the final encode and delivery with analytics handed off at the end to our stakeholders, right? It's incredible how much we were already doing video, and then what the pandemic forced us to then even deliver further, right? Setting aside, setting aside the ability to democratize video, right, and bringing in things like Microsoft Stream for user-generated content, and then even from the live perspective, letting our 300,000 plus employees globally do their own thing is massive, right? So bringing that in and then allowing us to leverage some of these top tier platforms to produce that one-to-many type of experience, right? A webcast, if you will. I mean, we did almost 800 last year, and now at this point, we're going to crack 1,000 easily. So it's a lot. We're busy, right? Probably
no rest for the weary video producer there.
That's what they say, right? We were joking earlier, all of us, and video, we're the cool kids nowadays, and everybody needs a video producer, right? Everybody needs a broadcast engineer. So it's our time to shine, right?
Yeah.
Probably the biggest thing we dealt with really was just the ability to be able to deliver, right? We had so much intake, all those conferences and really very high polished events that took place turned virtual. And we didn't have enough platform, we didn't have enough people, right, to make it happen. So, I mean, everybody here on this panel is probably going to agree. It was like a team effort to really bring together everybody in this world, in this industry, and just deliver, right? So that was a challenge, right? And probably a quick subtle joke on it is it was so hard to find a good webcam last year, right? I can't believe they were just sold out all the time.
It's supply logistics impacting the streaming universe in a unique way, wasn't it? It was tough, but but through that delivery, you're able to democratize video in a way. And I think that when we think about democratization of video, I want to bring in Andi Mann from Qumu. That's one of your drums that you like to beat on, right, Andi? Is the democratization of video, and really Qumu is not only a vendor of enterprise streaming capabilities, but I don't know how many people are aware that Qumu is really transformed itself from a work office situation. Tell us a little bit about first of all your role at Qumu, and then kind of how your whole organization has kind of changed its work stripes over the past 18 months.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, so I'm the CTO at Qumu. So for people who don't know Qumu, we're enterprise video as a service. We're the leader in that space. Capture, store, secure, distribute, all the stuff you need to do for these big events. Yeah, Steve, one of the big changes that we found was internally just teams moving around, and we have transformed. We have on-premises platform, but we've transformed into a cloud-first business now, and part of that has been going fully remote. We're actually going into the process now of starting to shut down buildings. Now that we're coming out of pandemic, we think that we're going to be able to be a fully remote company, and working with our customers on that. And the big challenge, to your point there, was really about people moving around all over the place. The idea of the digital nomad coming out of the pandemic, people moving from place to place, hybrid teams. And then you've got lots of different devices, different networks, home networks to deal with. And the knock-on effect for our enterprise customers was very much this renewed focus on scalability and reaching their employees wherever they were, whenever they could pay attention. So streaming and on demand, and to all locations at all times, day and night, and all of a sudden at massive scale.
Yeah, and you're not only involved in live video, but also asynchronous video. Talk a little bit about how your management team has adopted even on-demand video to foster some communications within your own organization.
Yeah, look, I tell you, Steve, this is so liberating and efficient. Instead of calling a 30-minute meeting and getting more and more Zoom fatigue, if you will, record a 5-minute update video and send it to people. They can watch it whenever they want. They can watch it 2 times playback if they're busy. They can read the text if they can't turn their audio on because they've got their family in the room, or maybe they've got a different conference call going on. They can get translations if they happen to have different languages. So it's actually that video on demand. Our CEO, for example, TJ Kennedy, sends out an update video every Friday afternoon. It's literally like 3 minutes long and hits on 3 key points. And it's become super popular in our business. That's how we're starting to communicate with people. It's more humane. You get real nuance beyond the text written word. You get the nuance of human interaction, but it's still very humane because it lets people engage wherever, whenever they are working.
Yeah, it really helps establish that a greater level of engagement, a greater level of connection when you're able to use video in that way. Stephen McNellie, You mentioned that you were in the process at the beginning of the pandemic of implementing a UGC a user-generated content platform. Tell us a little bit about that. And it must have been difficult to get people to begin adopting that when nobody's in the office and you're not there to look over people's shoulders. But walk us through that process of you're implementing a UGC platform in the middle of the pandemic, and then what happened?
Yeah, so we were, we met in person with all the stakeholders. We had all the rollout plans, for digital signage and, running it at our IT booth. And then, this big shift. And, we had the cutover of just kind of migrating everything and reaching, user parity or, platform parity with the previous platform. And then, we kind of had to accelerate things, if you will. It actually became more important for people to have their own content channels, and for people to have their own little silos within the organization to deliver their own very specific content. So it was really about having a lot of training sessions and opportunities to reach people and understand first and foremost what's on their mind, rather than just saying, hey, this is what we want to roll out to you. It was more of just, hey, what are your concerns? What are your pain point? What's your friction? And then addressing their needs, rather than being IT and just rolling out what we plan to roll out.
Yeah, when people did start producing content, what kind of videos would they post up there? Would they be more long form? Would they be short form in nature? Did you see any trends emerge from that?
Sure. So I think the engineers have always been a really fun crowd at Airbnb, and a lot of cultures there.
Yeah, I want to party with those guys.
Oh, I mean, they'd have, they'd have a nerds app programming. I mean, they just fun stuff. And I think we lost a little of that vibrancy when this pandemic happened, and there was just so much fatigue too, right? We're all, adapting to changes and things going on. So we started to see some fun cultural channels, and engineers making channels to explore passion projects and things like all the camps we'd have on site. Those were some of the fun things.
Yeah. So, Chris, at LinkedIn, how has the nature of content creation evolved at your space? Is it still the one-to-many webcast? Is it UGC? What is the video culture like in your organization?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say even before the pandemic, LinkedIn has always been very video on. So every meeting we had had a VC element to it, and most everybody's cameras were always on then. So when we switched to that, it was a pretty easy transition. Although our larger EP team did an amazing job of building that. So, and we're both in Teams, and we're both in Zoom, and using a lot of different things. So yeah, just the overall virtual, like that was a really easy transition for LinkedIn. And I actually would kind of throw that out there. It actually kind of helped us a lot. We had a considerable growth in the past year or two since the pandemic. And, in terms of efficiency and just being able to work, well together, either screen sharing or doing some video recordings like you guys were talking about. I think it really accelerated that. I do want to call it, I think Waseem said earlier was, there definitely was, it trended down that road for a while. And I feel about 3 or 4 months, there was a lot of like Zoom fatigue or burnout. So, I think that's something to be monitored. And I feel like, definitely an in-person element to things is slowly been kind of working our way, and it's actually been bringing out employee morale as well. So I think you can do both, but I would say that I would make the argument that going all VC and like you don't have to like run to like a meeting room or like book a meeting room or doing the logistics of that, and so you can pack a lot more in your day and be a lot more efficient. So yeah, I kind of want to touch on one little thing before you cruise over. So I thought it was interesting about what Stephen was bringing up earlier about how there was this feeling of like we have a location and we want to stream from that location so people who aren't there can be there, right? And then during the pandemic, it was like the platform that was, that was doing that was the location where it was. And I thought it was an interesting parallel because back in my live stream days, our whole our slogan was "Be there," and I thought about this a lot during the pandemic. I was like, where is there? Like, are we just always in the same location? I don't know. It's something that it was a little bit more, I don't know, kind of heady and kind of
so often we've been in a situation where videos open the door for people to attend remotely, but if there's no there, what are people actually attending? And that's a very good question. Now, we did have one question come over, and I'm going to pose this to Waseem, and I do want to remind folks that the Q&A is open, and we're going to be very interactive with whatever you want to talk about. And we have our good friend Eric Hers, a longtime streaming media show devotee. I've shared a beer or two with Eric in the past. He writes that he'd love to hear from each of you what they believe is an acceptable amount of latency for a live event. Most vendors claim that in the 30s is fine for a large event. Is this still the case in a post-Zoom world? Is latency a big issue for you, Waseem, or is it not something you're overly concerned about?
I think we're spoiled now, right? Everybody is spoiled now. We want that level of engagement where it's as real time as possible.
Right.
And 30 seconds is just not good enough anymore. We need low latency, ultra low latency at this point. So it feels as though you are there, right? And I'm sure we'll talk about this when we get a little bit deeper into conversation, the whole aspect of hybrid experiences, hybrid events, and having an in-person audience, being able to interact with a virtual audience, right? And making that simplified for the presenters is a big deal. You're not going to be able to do that with a 30-second delay if you pop at a poll or ask for feedback, right? You need that next to zero latency aspect there, so it feels like everybody's together and that engagement is where it needs to be.
And I think that's the key word there is engagement. That
right.
If you're really anticipating a back and forth dialogue with the audience, then that latency issue becomes really key. Andi, your thoughts from a vendor perspective? People are always hammering on you for latency or to reduce that latency. What are you seeing from the marketplace in general, from the Qumu product line in particular?
Yeah, look, Waseem's absolutely right. We're expecting everything all the time, right? That's why we have to put a lot of effort into things like transcoding and understanding the network environment of the end user. Someone watching on an iPhone at a train station versus someone on literally dial-up connections. We get, Waseem, you're absolutely right. We're spoiled, but we also get spoiled. I get spoiled working for a tech company that I assume everyone's got infinite bandwidth, like I do, right? And they absolutely don't. And so understanding that and being able to provide that low latency experience, no matter wherever or whenever you're working, that's been a really important part of what we've delivered for our customers over this time frame. Because you're exactly right. We can't wait 60 seconds, 30 seconds, even 10 seconds. You've got to have that opportunity to ask that question during that statement that you want to inquire about and things like that. So yeah, really important to get that rapid timing, and the technology underlying that is just becoming so much more important.
Chris, Steven, your thoughts on latency?
Sorry,
the latency.
I'll just say one thing. Yeah, so latency obviously is kind of like the holy grail, right? To have the kind of zero latency. But because we're just not equipped worldwide to have that low latency with the infrastructure that we have. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe we've gotten there during the pandemic, and certainly things have scaled up. But but you're still seeing, in terms of one-to-many broadcasts, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn Live, you're looking at like 25, 30 seconds. Now, like, there are use cases for one-to-many low latency streams. Yes, things like earnings reports or others that might move markets or something, or even, sports obviously is another good one, sports betting. Do we have the capacity? I don't know. It's like it's an open-ended question. I'm sure like the costs soar. I don't know, maybe maybe Andi has some thoughts over Qumu. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's something that we all kind of are going towards, but there has been promises of low latency, years ago, but it never could scale. I don't know. Are we there yet, Andi? Or Steven? Sorry, didn't mean to step on your response.
Yeah, that's right, Chris. Yeah, no, look, we are there to a large degree, Chris. We've got the opportunity now to use these low latency technologies, but it's just not evenly distributed. That's the biggest problem, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Steven, any final thoughts to wrap us up?
Sure. I think acceptable, looks at like, what risk do you want to take, and also the use. I think the biggest use is to have a shared experience where everyone's aligned in the experience. If you look at Chris in LinkedIn Live, like everyone's smashing that like button, and you feel that alignment. You feel everyone clapping and liking, at the same time, and it adds a different context to the media.
Yeah, it really plays in that whole virtual event realm, and you have that engagement in the virtual event. And actually, we have a question from online talking, building off what you were talking about, Chris, in terms of the platform is now the location. The event itself is in the cloud. It's a virtual event. And Stacy Narwaki asks, do you think that the platform will become a hub that persists across multiple events as always on virtual venues? So it's the notion of, are you going to have a digital destination that serves the same audience multiple times? It almost becomes a digital neighborhood of sorts. When you're talking about that platform, or in the sky, if you will, or that cloud platform, Chris, is that a destination that as a administrator that you're interested in promoting or enabling, or is that just
that's LinkedIn? That's LinkedIn.
Yeah. That's right.
Location. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've been working with the product team for the past 2 years on that. I think there's some exciting things. I don't know if I can mention them, but you can think of like where LinkedIn Live could be evolving to. We have we just shifted our whole events and scheduled live workflow, so to enable that, so pages can go live multiple times a day. But we also have other products out there, and there could be merging of those worlds. Like we have groups, and we have like that, so that could be a destination. So there's lots of different areas for expanding that, and I have a lot of ideas, but obviously nothing to announce here. But I don't know if that's too far off topic. But I do think that that's a really cool thing that she brought up, is that it's almost like there's equity in these particular places, like there is in the real world, right? Like everybody wants to move to LA, or everybody wants to go to here, and it's like creating those spaces. Steven's a little bit more well versed in that VR world, but it seems like that's kind of where we're shifting, right? So.
Yeah, Waseem, what are you guys are doing a lot of webcasts. Is there a hankering to get a single venue that hosts multiple webcasts? Is that something that you would see as something that's good for your video consumption and management of the video content, or does it play any role at all?
I think that's the dream, right? One place, there's simplicity there. All the content you need is there. The ability to access anybody and be with them virtually is there, right? But how does that play well from a well-being perspective, for an ability to actually turn yourself off at the end of the day, right? Whatever the end of the day is now, I don't even think that exists anymore, right? We're just go. So I believe the technology is available to make that type of universe, if you will. But how many people really want to sit in there, right, for longevity periods? I think it would tire us out. We're tired. We talk about Zoom fatigue and becoming a Zoom and whatnot, right? But it's a reality. And being able to have the flexibility, even for example, on this event, if I didn't want to be on video, I should have the comfort and right to just turn my camera off because it's been on all day. So the technology is definitely there, right? But do the people want to leverage that? And then after they get a taste of it, what's going to shove them in the other rapid direction? Because this is so quick, this is so rapid, right? Being always on and always connected is a challenging aspect to live with.
Yeah. Andy, I think that you might lend some good perspective here. Qumu has always been about managing on-demand content historically, and this discussion about the neighborhood or the digital destination that supports multiple webcasts really is the flip side of the on-demand content management issue. It's really the organization or management of live events in a hub type of format. So as you folks are developing your products, as you're thinking about the next generation of what's going to be happening, talk a little bit about how this new world of managing multiple live events in a venue of sorts dovetails with your traditional legacy of managing and really handling that on-demand content side as well.
Yeah, Steve, it's with these large events, especially, and real-time events happening all the time, allowing different audiences to interact in different ways is really important. So having multiple streams at one time from an event, for example. And yeah, when you talk about the event is the destination, that is becoming so true. But we also have to think about watch parties, for example. I was in a big conference recently. I was actually a host as part of my secret life as a infrastructure evangelist with the DevOps community. And part of that was we were hosting watch parties, 20, 30, 50, 100, 300 people in one venue logging in through one stream. You know, these sorts of things. We've got to understand the scale. To one of our questions earlier on, you know, what is the scale that you're expecting, and do you have the equipment internally? You know, do you have an ECDN or a CDN that you're using to save that bandwidth, stuff like that? But I do believe, you know, keying in, Steve, on that idea of the not just streaming but also on demand, every event should be both. The value you get from a real-time live streaming event, why wouldn't you want to share that with people who couldn't make it on the day, at the time, in the location? And so, yeah, we're very focused. A lot of our customers are looking at that longer tail now. Sure, we've done lots and lots of these live real-time events, but you know, there's that 5-minute segment from the chairman, or there's a 2-minute a citation from a customer, or you know, these little snippets of the live event which you can repurpose internally or externally. This is where we're going to, not just replicating a live event as it was, but using the cloud and the internet to be able to extend the value and the purpose of that live event is becoming much, much more important to our customers.
Yeah, another thing that's always key, you did mention the concept of ECDN. We do have another question from the audience talking about plans. What are the plans to mitigate bandwidth concerns when employees return to their offices? So what are you, Andy, hearing from your customers in terms of initial preparations for that glorious day when we're all back in the office on a 5-day-a-week, if that ever returns? We'll see. But when most people are in the office most of the time, let's say.
Yeah, look, there are a lot of people coming up with new rules. And as is appropriate, it's a new world. We're doing new things in new ways. Let's have new procedures around that. So in terms of which days are you in the office versus out of the office, working with your colleagues and your teammates, you know, in a lot of ways, collaboration and innovation is a bit of a contact sport. And I think it was Stephen who was saying that, you know, we need to have these things in both realms, both the physical realm and the virtual realm. So they're talking about, when do we do streaming video? When do we do, you know, these short asynchronous videos that are just quick messages? When do we have half-hour Zoom meetings, hour-long Zoom meetings? So I'm seeing a lot of our customers do things like, we're only going to have 15-minute Zoom meetings, right? Anything longer, you have to do a pre-read, do a pre-watch video, and come to that meeting with your questions. The Jeff Bezos thing, right? Where you do that pre-read before the meeting. They're talking about democratizing. I think it was Waseem was talking about that. Everyone gets to do it. Right? Video platforms are not the restricted province of the senior executive or the marketing team. It's everyone gets to do it in the right way at the right time. Yeah. There are some rules around video on. I actually have that for my own team meetings because I've worked remote for like 20 years and I understand the value of human engagement through video. But I think it was Chris who said we should be able to have the right to turn them off. And my team is allowed to do that as well if we know why, or if there's a reason that we don't need to know why, that's okay too, right? So accommodating the human, doing new things in new ways, not just trying to replicate the older physical events in virtual space.
Yeah.
They're becoming all sorts of new ways of looking at these opportunities.
Absolutely. So, Waseem, do you have bandwidth concerns as people gear up to come back to the office?
It's a very interesting question, right? And when you look at bandwidth requirements for a live event or a webcast, that's different versus the bandwidth requirements you're going to face when it comes to a meeting or a collaboration type of session, right? So we leverage Hive internally at EY, right? And we go HD and we know we're comfortable, we're great, we don't have concerns. Adaptive bitrate kicks in so it can manage people and maybe a more congested environment or what the case may be. But it's now this squash from Teams, right? Teams is the everyday driver at this point. And there's no means as of yet to really create that level of optimization, something like an ECDN is providing. So that's a challenge, right?
Yeah.
If you look back prior to the pandemic, you had video conferencing rooms and people scheduled those and they went in and that was the video, right? Other than that, everybody congregated together in a meeting room or they jumped on a conference call. But now everything is so simple to just be on video with as many people as you need and as instantly as you need, right? It's a complete shift in the communication pattern. So it's a challenge, right? Getting meeting optimization in place for your organization is going to be the next move, right? That has to be optimized in order to make sure you got enough bandwidth and juice to maintain that entire workforce back into the realm.
Yeah, Stephen, what are you seeing in Airbnb corporate bandwidth wise? Is that a concern?
Yeah, I think it's something to start bringing up and start planning for.
Mm-hmm.
We were still doing unicast streams, and we were having more people watch at their desks because our all hands of event spaces were getting so crowded. And so I think the planning should start happening now. Unfortunately, I think you're going to see a lot of businesses restructuring. Offices will shrink, offices will grow, offices will, relocate. Geography. So I think it's going to be a tricky one, and it's going to be a conversation that's not just IT. It's going to be part of real estate. There's going to be a lot of players. So I think the conversation should start early, letting people know that this is something we need to plan for in the future.
Yeah. A stitch in time saves 9 when it comes to the video networking. Absolutely. Chris, I'm going to shift gears a little bit for you, unless you have something you want to throw in on the networking side, because we have another question coming in, unless you really want to talk about networking.
Oh, can I just mention one thing? And
Go ahead. Go for it.
On this conversation.
Yeah.
So mentioned a lot of this return to office and how that's going to look and whatever. We're definitely, this is an active discussion and planning and all that. I'm sure Stephen's in the same boat and Waseem. Yeah. So, but it's interesting. There was some kind of sentiment that was like, maybe it was 6 months ago. I can't remember. It was like, oh, it looked like the pandemic was waning, and everyone's kind of like, what are you going to do, Chris? Now that like streaming is like, and I'm like, are you serious? It's going to be more important than ever when we start going back in the office. We had one on-prem, it was like a sales kickoff internal stream. It was back in July in our San Francisco office, and record viewership, right? Like we've never seen viewership like this, because people really want to know, like they want to be there again, right? They want to be back in the office and see what's going on and have something nicely produced. So, there was, a day before, long before the pandemic, when like streaming was the afterthought of the event, like, hey, like we'll just stream what's on the iMac and like get it out there. Then it kind of became just as important. I think really now, like, when we get back to like in-person events and streams, events like this, it's going to be just as important, that production, that kind of one-to-many approach to people that can't be there in person. It was getting to that point before the pandemic. Now it's just going to be, so I think we're going to see a lot more, budget being put towards that. Anyway, I just want to mention that one little note.
No, and that actually dovetails very nicely with another question that's come in through this. When we're talking about the return to office, we're still going to have some employees working virtually, some in the office. And this, I'm going to go around the horn on this one because this is a real, but we'll start with you, Chris. So you'll be the first one up. But with employees working virtually still in some cases, what new policies have been created as part of the new workplace? This question more in lines of, what do you do to keep control of the content and knowledge, providing the security around that, making sure that the wrong eyes don't get access to a particular piece of video, particularly when you have people working both behind the corporate firewall and in their remote locations. Will they have to be working on VPNs? There's this is literally a Pandora's box type of question where you can go in so many directions with it. But just off the top of your head, when you're thinking about the new workspace, the new hybrid workspace, are there any unintended consequences that you're trying to avoid with putting policies into place for managing video in that post-pandemic workplace?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I don't know if I'm the perfect person because I'm not on our internal policy team, but I will say this. I think LinkedIn's very much focused on member trust, and that extends to the company as well, right? So and I'd like to think that as trusted teammates throughout the company, that people aren't sharing our internal company all hands or all of that, and we always kind of make reminders what happens in our all hands stays in all hands and all that. But we do, we don't have, you have to be on a firewall. You do have to have two-factor authentication to get on the net, to get on the, to authenticate to LinkedIn and view the content. We have that's using Office 365 and all the Microsoft authentication that's involved with that. I don't know if there's anything more I can say about that, except that I don't know that it has been a concern. There was, I guess, like an incident a while back where somebody screenshot or screen recorded something and put it out there. And we haven't seen anything like that since. So, but I don't know if there's, it's only kind of so much you can do. And I'm probably the wrong person, but I just want to get that sentiment out there. I feel like LinkedIn is a place where people are, really trust each other. And it's not something that has been, it was at one point when that happened, but lately I can't think of one time. I think we've gotten to a better place as a company.
This is something we actually just had to really recently think through of, and it's really something where the policies are kind of already in place. If you think about like Google Drive or a G Suite or like Office 365, what are your current data access policies? And should video be any different? My thought was that we should have at least kind of parity with how easy it is to share a video in Drive, and in effect a lot of platforms are more restrictive because a lot of other things that aren't purpose built for video will allow you to download the video, or you don't have as much visibility into who's consuming the video. So at least on a purpose-built platform, we have more visibility into that content.
Andi, did you have some thoughts that you wanted to share? I saw you kind of raising your hand on that, eager to get in the conversation here.
Yeah, look, I'm holding my peace here. Look, this is absolutely critical. New policies for everything required, right? Historically, our videos have been very ephemeral and sort of pointless. Coming out of marketing was the videos that we kept and stored and managed, the stuff we put on our website, but everything else we sort of let drift into the ether. But what's happening now is we're having really critical conversations. We're having conversations that need compliance and governance applied to them on recorded video with transcripts. So things like records management becomes important. Where do you store it? And Stephen, to your point, right, storing on Box or Drive is, you're just storing a binary large object there. You've got no granularity. Like you said, you've got no analytics, no understanding of who's watching or when or why. You've got very little in terms of content management, the records management for discovery, for court cases, for example, for automatic deletion, for records attrition, hierarchical storage management, so that the videos that are being used are available quickly with that low latency for access versus stuff that might be in nearline storage or further away. And so especially in highly regulated industries, finance, healthcare, these are really critical factors, which I don't think a lot of people are really considering in this new world, for want of a better term. And it's not just for internal content either, right? We're starting to do things like product launches online in video instead of in person in, let's say, a car showroom or a factory. So how long do you let that video stay out there? Who gets to see it? Can you let that video out into the wild before your official release date, once you showed agents or dealers or something like that, right? Again, more policies required to maintain that level of privacy and confidentiality pre-launch when you're giving that update and that inside view to your dealers in the first instance. So loads and loads of policy considerations to think about this new mode of engagement. And when we're substituting virtual for physical, how do we substitute some of the physical controls that we had and the insights and understandings? Who's watching, when, how are they engaging? What part of my video is actually useful for people? These are brand new things we have to do in brand new ways.
Yeah, and I think the key there is that you have to apply these rules consistently across the board. That if all of a sudden some videos are disappearing, but others are not, and people are doing legal discovery on videos, you could be getting yourself into a world of hurt if you don't have good policies in place up front for how you manage these things as a matter of course. Waseem, what are you seeing in this regard?
Governance is key, right? Being at EY, we're just tight to begin with. You know, there's strict access control, even down to the platforms that we use and what integration capabilities they provide, right? We may use something like Broadcaster from Media Platform, where yes, we have that SSO, so we know that internal event is safe and secure, but then it also gives us the luxury to do something externally facing, because we can allow token authentication or general registration, right? Even with Glisser, when we do really large type of conference style events, right, where we're expecting thousands of people, multiple live sessions in parallel, their whitelisting capabilities. So how this video is accessed, who the attended audience is, all of this governance needs to be outlined immediately. If you don't have that already, you need to get cracking on that, because it is risky. And with so much video being created and consumed, it's just bouncing around in the ether, right? And you forget about it. So retention policies is huge, right? We don't let anything live longer than a year. And if you really feel it should, you got to give us a good use case. But hey, we got analytics to go back and see, is there value in maintaining this asset online or not, right? Yeah. Your carbon garbage, right? Your digital garbage that you're creating online too. It's just, you got videos from 30 years ago sitting there, nobody even remembers. But all of this stuff needs to be policed and governed appropriately, and it's going to be different for every organization.
Well, this panel will be not considered to be carbon garbage. I'll tell you that much right now. So we have like literally 4 minutes until we have to turn the pulpit back over to Eric, regrettably so. So I'm going to go around to each of you real quick, looking at the beginning of 2022. The title of this session was actually streaming in the post-pandemic world. So what is I'll start with you, Chris. Top priority streaming wise for the first 6 months of 2022. Is there a specific feature you want to get implemented, a specific policy you want to get implemented? Top line, what do you got to get done the first half of next year?
Can you come back to me?
I'll
do it.
We'll give Chris the last word. We'll go to Steven.
Okay.
I guess I would say meeting people where they are and delivering the kind of experience they want to receive and delivering the message you want to deliver, I guess, without going too much deeper in it than that.
Gotcha. Andi?
Yeah, so look, Steve, it's really for us at Qumu, just extending the innovation of our Qumu cloud platform, making sure enterprise video is available to everyone and meeting the radically new use cases with radical new capabilities that take advantage of the opportunity. Again, not just replacing the meeting, not just replacing the physical engagement, but actually using video in unique ways, using 360 video, using captions, using translations, using playback speeds. There's a lot of things that video does that's better than meeting in person. And so for Qumu, it's really a case of just capitalizing on the things that video does so much better and making that virtual experience a first-class citizen in that business environment.
Well said. Waseem, your thoughts on top priorities for the next 6 months or so?
For us, it's really the hybrid element and then getting that engagement piece in parity, right? We've done a handful of hybrid events already, the first of many to come. And we realize that in-person bit is still very important, but that virtual attendance it's not as equally, perhaps more important, right? That virtual stream is never going away, in my opinion, at this point, right? There's just too much convenience that's available with that in mind, and having the flexibility to maybe join for the first half in person and then leave and take the other half virtually is incredible, right? So making sure that our workflow for hybrid is in place, right? Mobile studio kits, and making sure that engagement is in parity for in-person and virtual attendees.
Excellent, thanks, Waseem. And then the first word went to Chris Packard. We'll give him the last word now. I'm not going to put you on the spot in terms of top priorities, but just overall LinkedIn. If you had to describe the relative importance of video now versus say in the months leading up to the pandemic, describe if it's changed at all.
Well, I ran the risk of having somebody else say what I was going to say, and Waseem actually just kind of nailed it. Right now, we're working through our hybrid approach in terms of people viewing online, being a part of these meetings, as well as on site. That's going to be a major focus for us internally. And then on the LinkedIn Live front, I'm working heavily to make sure that folks like Steve and Airbnb and Waseem can utilize LinkedIn Live perhaps for some of their own streams internally as well in the future. But yeah, more to come on that. But yeah, hope that was a good answer.
No, that's a very good answer. Matter of fact, good answers all across the board from all our four panels. So I want to thank each one of you for taking the time to share your insight and fighting the good fight on the front lines of the video wars. It is not easy making video work seamlessly. People expect 4.9's reliability, and I know that's not always easy to deliver. But I know that you folks each do a good job for your organization. So with that, let's turn it back over to Eric from Stream Media. And thanks again all for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was a terrific discussion. I really appreciate all the insights from everyone. This and all of our Streaming Media West Connect panel videos and presentations will be available on our YouTube channel. It might take us a little longer than usual. Get well, Steve. Our video producer's on the injured reserve right now, but he'll be back and putting them online in the next couple of weeks. And thanks also to our sponsors, Conviva, Limelight Networks, Signient, VideoGuys, and for this panel, Qumu. The Amazon gift card winner for this session is Russ Ziegler. So Russ, keep your eye on your email for that, and join us again in 30 minutes for our Innovation Hour featuring presentations from LiveView, Zixi, and Signient. Catch you then. So long.
Thanks all.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks. You too.
All right. Thank you all. You all did a great job. Really appreciate you doing this. Take care.
Thanks, Steve. That was fun. Thank you.
NDI November. NDI products and NDI guests, including Dr. Cross to kick everything off November 2nd. Start watching Tuesdays at 3 p.m.
Register now at VIDEOGUYS.com to make sure you don't miss any of our NDI November webinars. Registering will give you a chance to win one of our giveaways, including a HuddleCam HD Pro EPTZ webcam with NDI, a Telestream Wirecast Pro license for Windows or Mac, a BirdDog Flex of your choice, the NewTek University NDI class and exam, or a copy of the Unofficial Guide to NDI.
In this era of streaming video, we are pioneers, helping make your stories more vibrant. Conviva lives in billions of apps on devices all over the world, measuring trillions of data points each day to provide real-time insights for your content, ads, and social. Conviva. Every stream, every screen, every second.